big star out of me. Make a film about a man who's sad and lonely, and all I gotta do is act naturally. Well, I'll bet you I'm gonna be a big star. Might win an Oscar, you can never tell. The movie's gonna make me a big star.
Hello and welcome to Meet Me at the Movies. I am Noel T. Manning II, hanging out with the Cine-Men. We're very happy to have these guys. Who do I have with me? Who is this?
Well, you have one half of the esteemed Cine-Men.
The only esteemed half.
It's me, Darryl Mansell, the host of the Poprika Network and one of your Cine-Men.
Good to have you back, Darryl. Good to see you.
Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for having me.
And I'm Douglas Davidson, the founder of Elements of Madness, film review website, and the other half of the Cine-Men. I am the lesser known and less esteemed half, and that's how I like it.
and we got some guy in a red shirt that that's hanging. Who
Expendable.
Is
that? That's one way to make that clear.
Freddie.
Yes.
I was going to say, this is Freddie Highmore, No, Thomas Manning here, contributing writer to Elements of Madness with Mr. Douglas Davidson over there, and member of the North Carolina Film Critics Association. And that's about the extent of my credentials at this point, but we're building that resume up a little bit.
Absolutely. Same credentials I got, buddy.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm really glad to have you guys with us on the show. We've had you on Meet Me at the Movies right here on C19 TV separately, but we've never had you together. And the last time we got together, we broke the movie theaters because
sorry, everybody.
We were on your show and we were talking about the movies we were most looking forward to this year. And then a week later, everything stopped. Yep. So we've had to, we've changed things up a bit on this show. We've had a lot of filmmakers we've been able to interview. We've had other film critics from really all over the world, which has been kind of fun to do that as well. And really glad to have you guys. You're just an hour away, and I thought this would be a great time to kind of wrap this part of Meet Me at the Movies up before we get going back into the studios, which will be pretty soon. So we're glad you're here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Well, I'll tell you
what he said.
Well, we've got about, I'm looking at the list of films on the rundown, and we've got 212 films to try to knock out. So we've got 7 seconds per film, if I did my math correctly. So Douglas, I think you are on deck first, and you're going to be talking about this new Tom Hanks film that should have been in theaters.
Absolutely. It was originally supposed to be released by Sony, I believe, before it got shipped over to Apple TV. Film called Greyhound, which he actually wrote the screenplay for. He adapted it from the C.S. Forester story, The Good Shepherd. It's historical fiction where Hanks plays a brand new commander leading an envoy of Allied ships. This film, when it works, is very, very intense. The camera work stays right with Hanks. You really don't get to know any of the other members of the crew. There's a couple of faces you'll recognize, but it jumps nonstop almost from event to event to event with this destroyer moving up and down the envoy. And when it's working, you are right on the edge of your seat, but there are definitely some times where you almost want more of a breath. You wish that there was a little bit more of an opportunity to get to know these characters, but working off of Hanks, you really buy in quickly.
Okay,
it'll be a good watch at home.
Awesome. And where can people find this?
Right now, it's just going to be on Apple TV Plus. So if you're a subscriber of Apple TV Plus, you can watch it come Friday, July 10th.
Okay, which if you're watching this on July 11th or 12th or 13th, then you can watch it now.
Yes, you can.
So what grade would you give this on a report card, A to F?
B+.
B+. All right, B+ for, is it Greyhound or The Greyhound?
Greyhound.
Okay, because I always mess up my articles. Is it like The Quiet Place or A Quiet Place? A Expendable?
No articles with this one.
Okay, awesome. Greyhound with Tom Hanks, not Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks, and it is on Apple TV Plus. All right, Darryl, man, you've got some stuff you've been watching on Netflix, and you were telling me about this this thing about these insects that like to attack people, killer bees or something. What's going on with that?
Close, but not quite.
Okay.
It's called the Wasp Network. It debuted on Netflix about 3-ish weeks ago on June 19th. It's directed by Olivier Assayas. It's got Penelope Cruz, Edgar Ramirez, Gael Garcia Bernal, Wagner Moura on Narcos, and Ana de Armas. It's about Cuban spies who defect to the U.S. and infiltrate anti-Cuban organizations to thwart from within. So you see the lives of these operatives, their machinations, wheels within wheels, and the strain it takes on their personal lives. It kind of focuses on Edgar Ramirez's character and his relationship to his wife, who's played by Penelope Cruz, who doesn't quite know what he's doing. The country thinks he's a traitor, so the tension is strained there. Good directing, a hair shy of just over 2 hours. I think it might be 2 hours and 3 minutes long. So if you're looking for something for a Friday night, it's worth checking out. I think there's maybe 20 or so minutes that can be cut from the middle. The middle kind of lags when the perspective shifts over to Wagner Moura and Ana de Armas' character, their whole relationship. But if you're a fan of plots within plots, espionage, intrigue, it's something you might find interesting. I think I'd give it a B-. I had to throw a grade on it.
Okay, B-, and I think if Thomas watched it, he'd give it like a B+ just because of Ana de Armas.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a good reason. It's a good reason.
Yeah, great reason.
All right, awesome. And that is on Netflix, and it's called Wasp Network. It's not the Wasp Network, just Wasp Network.
Just Wasp. Found out it's based on a true story. I had no idea.
Unlike Greyhound, which is a fictional, it's a fictional historic fiction.
Historical fiction.
Thank you. All right, I know you'd get it. All right, good job. Good job. All right.
Yeah, I studied up.
All right, Thomas, you've got one that's from Act 13 Studios, I think. The writer-director Aaron Fisher also maybe stars in this film.
Yeah, that's correct. So he's the writer, director, and he stars in the lead role. And in real life, he has bipolar depression, OCD, and ADHD, and the character he's playing has all those as well. So it's basically a therapeutic passion project for him. And the story is not entirely a true story, but just it's influenced by events that have happened in his life. And really interesting perspective. You don't really get a ton of representation from either writers, directors, or actors that are struggling with things like that, or at least not in mainstream. And this one is available on Amazon Prime. It's one that it's definitely acquired taste. It has, it's just kind of a different kind of vibe that you have to settle into. But I still think it's worth checking out just for the creative aspect and knowing how much it meant to the writer director. And let's see, I would probably give it a solid B. Some of the pacing was a little bit off. It's 90 minutes long, but I still felt they probably could have trimmed it out a little bit or just edited down certain portions. But just for the authenticity and accuracy in the script and the performances, portraying those type of issues, I thought it was pretty phenomenal in that regard. So,
okay, and the name of the film is called Inside the Rain, is that right?
that is right, yeah, Inside the Rain.
Okay, and there's the word "the." The does show up in the film. And there is another film that deals with bipolar depression that I saw back in 2014. Just wanted to mention this. If you have not seen Mark Ruffalo in a film called Infinitely Polar Bear, it was one of the best films that flew under the radar in 2014, and I highly recommend that. Zoe Zalanda is in this as well. And Infinitely Polar Bear is the name of that one. There is a new film out by director Rod Lurie that I want to talk about. This film is based on a true story. And it's an account written by Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper's a reporter, investigative journalist, put together this huge book on the story of war. And it's really a film about facing odds, searching for purpose, and also about loyalty. I love the acting in this film. A cast of names like, Sons of Gibson, Sons of Eastwood show up in this film. I love the acting. I love the action set pieces. The action set pieces blew me away, especially the last half hour or so. Really incredible. it's a human drama that I was really drawn into. And Douglas, you and I talked about this kind of off air, basically, that the immersive nature of this film was breathtaking, and it was hard to catch your breath when you were watching it. It's raw, it's real, and I found it really an engaging war epic, and a claustrophobic snapshot of what it must have been like to have been surrounded by enemies on all sides and not knowing if you're going to get out alive, and realizing that you're in the midst of something you should have never been in the midst of, as far as where this outpost was. The Outpost is the name of this film. Giving this an A rating. Douglas, you want to add any additional comments to it?
Just that if you have the ability to watch this on a solid sound system, take advantage of it. The biggest TV you've got in the house, the best sound system you've got. It is almost a documentary-like style that Lurie takes with the film, and he keeps you as inside this compound as possible, inside the action, wherever the action takes place. So you want to make sure you've got the best sound system. Don't watch this on your laptop or any other sort of mobile device if you can handle a tablet, etc. If you can watch it on a big setup, please do it.
And also watch it in a dark, dark place, because there are some scenes that take place at night. And I think that will help with this. And if you want to check out an interview with Rod Lurie talking about this, go over to Elements of Madness. Douglas has an interview set up there that you can check out as well. Rod's a great guy, and we really appreciate him taking the time to spend with us.
Absolutely.
All right, Douglas, man, we are just we're just rocking and rolling through this thing. There's a film that you got in advance on, The Old Guard.
Yes.
Charlize Theron, really excited about her in anything. And I love her in action films as well. So let's get some of your thoughts on The Old Guard.
She is fantastic in this. I am not familiar with the graphic novel that The Old Guard is based on. And Darryl, you have a great deep well of knowledge when it comes to comics, so you might be able to color in some of this if I misspeak. But this is directed by Gina Prince Blythewood, if I'm pronouncing that right. She did The Secret Life of Bees and a few others. From what I've seen from her catalog, action is not a thing that she's necessarily done. This film is fantastic, and it works in a lot of different levels. It is a solid action film. It is a solid film in terms of a narrative exploring what exactly it means to be immortal, what it means to be in this world and part of this world. It explores love and romance in a very natural and evocative kind of way. And the action sequences are, in some cases, quite inspired. And Charlize Theron is fantastic. Kiki Lane, most people will probably know from If Beale Street Could Talk, and she was amazing in that. She plays a Marine in this one. So she goes from sort of this gentle love interest, if you will, stuck in a drama, to being the one that saves the day in the third act. And she gets such an amazing third act. But if anybody saw Aladdin and ever heard the term Hot Jafar, you will continue that thought when you watch The Old Guard, because Marwan Kazari, he plays one of two people that are in a relationship, and he is so wonderful and has such a wonderful speech. It about stopped my heart.
Wow.
So
wow.
It is a great action story, but it also has some wonderful pathos in it, and it hits Netflix. It's a Netflix original that lands on July 10th, and I would give this an A.
An A rating, and
Absolutely.
The name of that is, what's the name of it? The Old Guard.
The Old Guard. I went back, and just because I could, I went back and rewatched some of the action sequences. It's good stuff.
And it is The Old Guard.
The Old Guard.
Hi, man, we're getting all sorts of articles in this particular show of Meet Me at the Movies. We're going to take a quick break. We're halfway through, which is pretty nuts. But we've been churning through this. When we come back, we're going to get some reviews from the vault with Darryl going back to Harrison Ford in a little adventure film that some may have heard of, and Thomas got to check out an odd superhero film for the first time, and he's going to give us some thoughts from that as well. And then we're going to talk about Hamilton, and we're going to go into our hot topic. All that and probably nothing else after this quick intermission on Meet Me at the Movies.
They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me.
Hi everyone. At CCC, students are busy registering for the fall semester. We are staying flexible with how we offer classes, in person and online, so we can meet students' needs and interests. Our team can help you enroll, apply for financial aid, register, and get the answers you need. We continue to monitor COVID-related news and do everything we can to safeguard the well-being of our students, employees, and visitors. So come join us, register now, and keep moving forward.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
At CCC, we're all about training students for exciting careers. Our Barber Academy is a great example. Did you know jobs for barbers, stylists, and other related fields are increasing? Competition for the best jobs will be strong. With your CCC training, you'll have a definite edge. Our courses give you the skills and knowledge you need to sit for North Carolina's Apprentice Barber exam. To move up the ladder, you need at least 1 year of on-the-job training before you take the state's registered barber exam. If you pass, it's official. You'll be a registered barber. While private barber schools can cost $10,000 or more, CCC makes it affordable. Plus, you can complete our Barber Academy in only 15 months. Now the question is, are you ready to start your journey today?
They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me.
Welcome back to Meet Me at the Movies. Noel T. Manning II here with Darryl Douglas and Thomas, the Cine-Men. Of course, Thomas has not been invited to be part of the Cine-Men, but
Not yet.
Not
He's
yet.
gunning for it. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to
Coming
happen.
for those
Not until I retire.
We're going to sneak you in, Thomas.
Well,
All right.
I tell you, we are glad to have you guys back, and thanks for having us on your show as well, back before the pandemic really kicked into high gear. Again, it's your fault. And
Dang.
let's just tell it like it is. Well, you know, now is a good time because of the pandemic to go back and revisit some old films, some classics, or find some things maybe you never saw before. And so we're going to go do some reviews from the vault. Darryl, dive in and talk about this Harrison Ford film, and then we'll go to Thomas to talk about a film he'd never seen before.
Yeah, scrolling through Netflix a couple days ago, and happened across, I forgot that Raiders of the Lost Ark is on Netflix. Now, earlier this year, to kick the year off, I did a show called 100 for 100, 100 movies I think everyone should watch for the first time. I gave it a 100-word review the first 100 days of the year. My number one film was Raiders of the Lost Ark. I think that there is not an ounce of fat that can be trimmed from this movie. Spielberg and George Lucas harkening back to their serials of the 50s to try to capture that tone and vibe, that feel of adventure. I think I brought it up on an episode of Cine-Men recently. We get a lot of action these days. We don't get a lot of adventure movies. That's sorely lacking. We haven't really had that since the good Pirates of the Caribbean movies, really. You got to really, dig to find a good swashbuckle. And that's what this is. You always hear the criticisms of you take Indy out and nothing changes. I disagree with that. There's a couple of things that definitely will change for probably the worse if you take Indy out of the movie. But that still being said, it's Harrison Ford at his finest. You can tell he's having fun with the role. And it's just a romp from beginning to end. It's perfect to sit down on the couch, grab some popcorn, enjoy.
Absolutely. And so your rating for that, a solid A+?
Solid A+.
Yeah, awesome. Raiders of the Lost Ark, you can check that out on Netflix. And you can also check it out behind Thomas. He'll pull the DVD down, the Blu-ray, and send that to you.
We
All
actually
right,
don't have it on Blu-ray. It's just standard DVD. So we need to upgrade that. Yeah.
Man, you got some problems with your dad. You got to talk to him. That's
They'll
nuts.
probably do a 4K release. Just wait for the quadruple set.
All right, Thomas, let's talk about this film Chronicle that you had never seen. And I said, Thomas, let's check this out.
Yeah. So directed by Josh Trank, it was his directorial debut. And then a few years later, he tried to venture into a big studio picture with the Fantastic Four reboot, which just did not translate. It wasn't his fault. It was, Fox that kind of messed that one up. And he's recently had Capone with Hardy that was just released a couple weeks ago. But this was, I think, this truly exemplified what he's capable of. Kind of a found footage style superhero vigilante type film. But really, once you get it down to it, the science fiction aspect isn't really what's important about it. It focuses on the story of the characters, and some of the character arcs within this are absolutely phenomenal. And this, in many ways, this reminded me of what Brightburn from last year was trying to be, and I didn't think Brightburn lived up to what Chronicle accomplished, and it just blew me away. It was perfectly paced. It was less than an hour and a half, and but I don't think I would have wanted any more or any less than what they gave me. $12 million budget, and capitalized on that with like 126 million at the worldwide box office. And so I think the shows with low budget filmmaking, definitely I would recommend Chronicle. I'm glad that you recommended it, Dad, and that we sat down to watch it. Really just thrilling in many ways.
Yeah, I'm with you, Thomas. Especially the character arcs really were just amazing in this. If you look at it just solely from the character's perspective, it was just as enjoyable for me watching it a second time, third, fourth, fifth time. I've forgotten how many times I've seen it. Have you guys seen Chronicle as well?
Oh yeah, downstairs. Own it. Absolutely. Michael B. Jordan is phenomenal in that.
Yeah.
And Dean DeHaan is perfectly cast.
Yeah. Thomas, what is your rating for this?
Let's see what A-. We'll give it an A-. Yeah.
Okay, A- for Chronicle, if you want to go back and revisit that. There is a new film that I want to talk about that has been getting all the hype for years because it's a Broadway type musical. It's one of those kind of inspiring musicals that speaks to our time. It speaks to historical times. The film is called Hamilton, and the buzz on it was so huge. I asked myself, can this live up to it? Because I had never seen it live before. I had heard the songs. I had read many things about it. So I sat and watched 2 hours, 40 minutes worth of this piece that really was inspiring. It does capture the birth of our nation in many ways through, I thought, wonderful acting, the music quite memorable, the choreography just absolutely marvelous. The writing was stellar across the board, and it asked this story question, really kind of, what are you willing to do to get your shot or to take advantage of opportunities? That was the story question that I was left with. It was riveting, and it was worth sitting and watching for 2 hours and 40 minutes. I'm reminded of just how much I love musicals, and I would not consider myself a huge musical fan of someone that just watches every musical, but the past few years, as musicals have come out, I found myself loving them and loving so many different aspects of them. So maybe that's because back in high school, I performed Scrooge the Musical and Little Abner. And so maybe my high school days are coming back to me, but a solid A+ for me for Hamilton. Well worth watching if you want to take the time. And especially this time of year, it was really great to see this film. Other thoughts or comments on Hamilton, if anybody's checked that out?
It absolutely lived up to the hype. I've been listening to the soundtrack for a few years now, and actually watching it, I'd heard people describe being moved to tears seeing it live. That very much happened to me repeatedly throughout it. And having watched it now twice since I've watched it twice since it released, and being able to see even more things. The depth at which Lin-Manuel Miranda not only has with the lyrics of the songs, but with the costuming, the staging, and as far as what all of the ensemble is doing, they all have a backstory, and it is incredible.
We do have time for a hot topic. We've got about 4 minutes, so we will dive through this. Here's the hot topic. If a composer would score your life, who would that composer be and why? And Darryl, we will start with you.
All right, then I'm going with Ludwig Göransson, the Swedish cat who composed Black Panther, Creed. He did, I think, all, if not most, of The Mandalorian as well. And he is scoring the upcoming Tenet, which we will see in 2073.
and
Well,
the question,
yeah, no.
Why?
Why? It just his music moves me, man.
Okay.
When there's something that's happening, I'm just like I feel it. You know, music is meant to enhance. He does a very good job of that.
Awesome. All right, Douglas, what about you, bud?
For me, unfortunately, my composer is not with us anymore. He passed away in 2003. But Michael Kamen, his music, he scored films that basically created my childhood. The Last Action Hero, The Last Boy Scout, The Iron Giant, The Three Musketeers, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Hudson Hawk, Roadhouse. These are all films that he has touched, and so many more that we used to just listen to the scores of these movies by themselves. I mean, he even worked with Metallica, and S&M is a phenomenal 2-disc if you can find it these days. But his music just always, it basically was the background music to my childhood. So that's why I would choose him.
Awesome. Thomas, what about you, bud?
So mine isn't nearly as deep as what y'all described, but I'm going to go with Howard Shore. And, you know, the reason I pick Howard Shore, you know, Lord of the Rings composer, and he's worked with Scorsese, like Gangs of New York, is no matter what I'm doing, he would find a way to make what I was doing seem epic and just, like, magnificent. Like, I could just be walking through a field with nobody around me, and he, you know, that's basically what Lord of the Rings is. That's just people walking through fields. He'd find a way to make my life seem a whole lot more interesting than it is. So that's so yeah, I'll go with Howard Shore.
All right, good choice, Thomas.
Yeah.
Well, I would go with this collaborative team of Randy Edelman and Trevor Jones. They did a soundtrack called Last of the Mohicans. Now, separately, they worked on things like Gettysburg, Dragonheart, Cliffhanger, Runaway Train, The Dark Crystal. But together, when they did Mohicans, they captured epic, which is what I think anybody's story is epic, no matter who they are. Everybody's story is epic in some way. Their collaboration also found a way to capture adventure, fun, and drama, and basically life. And so those are the two composers I would have collaborate for the score of my life. I appreciate everybody who decided to stick around for these 30 minutes. Really, thank you. Thank you very much. You can email us at info@c19.tv. I do want to thank Douglas and Darryl from the Cine-Men for joining us, and Thomas Manning. So Darryl and Douglas, either one of you give me a place where people can find your podcast and other work about you.
Go for it, Doug.
Okay. You can find the Cine-Men podcast on the Poprika Podcast Network, usually on SoundCloud. You can find all the different shows that Darryl hosts, as well as his legion of co-hosts that he has all those shows there. And you can always find my reviews on elementsofmadness.com.
And for the movie quote of the week, I think this is one of Darryl's favorite movie quotes. This does come from Twilight. This is Edward speaking to Bella. You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey. So until next time, for Meet Me the Movies right here on C19 TV and WGWG.org. That's a wrap.
Trails to you till we meet
Want change? Like things the way they are? Use your rights and vote. Take a stand for your beliefs. Why wouldn't you vote? Don't make excuses. It's not every day you can take a stand on community, state, and national issues. Think your vote won't change anything? In 2008, only 3,632 votes separated the presidential race in the state of Missouri. 3,632. Every vote counts. Speak up. Only you can silence your voice. Go to your local polling place and be heard on this election day.